Hey dealers, if your unit sales stop tomorrow, could your business survive? Today on Beyond the Showroom, we're going to talk to you about why your parts and service department should be profitable enough to pay the bills. Hey guys, I'm Greg Jones with Motorcycle and Powersports News. Joining me is Maggie Stevens of Powersports Playbook. Maggie, we're going to be talking a little bit about kind of a change in mentality for a lot of dealers out there who are solely focused on unit sales and maybe ignoring the parts and service side of things. So let's talk about that mentality a little bit. Why is it kind of like this? And, why do you want to talk to these folks about how important parts and service are?
So I think it's important because if people are ignoring parts and service or fixed ops, however you refer to it, same concept, right? You're leaving a lot of money on the table. So depending on how you've come into the industry or if you've bought a dealership versus built one from scratch, you're going to look at your dealership completely different. Most people that are super profitable, and this is something that they don't talk about, so this is like an industry, kind of like a hidden secret.
Yeah.
But profitable dealerships, they don't just look at that top line number and say, we did 10 million this year. I would always counter back and say, okay, but how much of it did you keep? Because if you kept only 1%, was it really that great of a year? Not really. Mm-hmm. So the dealerships that are really good, they look at their business as 4 different independent dealerships inside a big hub of a dealership. So finance will be its own hub, sales will be its own hub, parts will be its own hub, and service will be its own hub. Right now, majority of the dealerships that are struggling, but maybe they don't want to admit it, they're taking parts and service or fixed ops, and they're using it as a write-off center. So they are taking any type of bad sale or a deal, or if they have to give something away for free, instead of, unfortunately, but writing it off to the sales deal in the sales department, where the sales department takes the hit, they're taking it and they're writing it off to parts and service. Instead of looking at all 4 of those options as their own profit center. And I use that word intentionally. Profit center is going to orient you to your North Star. I don't want you to just make money, because great, making money is fantastic. But if you do not have enough profit in your dealership, and regardless of what you do with it, but if you do not have enough profit in your dealership, you can't handle anything. You can't handle bad inventory. You can't handle a hurricane. I'm from Florida, so we always think about hurricanes.
Right, yeah.
But you can't handle any of that. You can't handle a bad storm, or, all of us just went through COVID. The people that survived it, they survived it when the sales floor had no units, because I lived through that, and that was the weirdest experience in the world. We went from 300 units on the floor plus to 10.
Wow.
We always joked, like you could rollerboard through it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So if you want to be able to survive that, you need other revenue streams in your existing business. So when you think about each category as its own revenue stream, you're now going to start to shift your perspective on that. And you're going to look at, okay, well, how do we make parts itself profitable? If it was its own standalone business, what do we need to do? What do we need to do for service? Same concept. So it's really important to me, because I know the next couple of years, the industry's changing. It's always changing, but we're going to continue to evolve, and I care about keeping dealerships profitable so that they can evolve with the industry.
Absolutely. All right, so you mentioned a lot about profit there.
Yes.
Let's expand on that profit absorption, right?
Okay.
Fixed ops should be able to cover overhead. So sales, are pure profit from that standpoint. You want to just elaborate on that?
Sure. So the mindset should be, again, regardless of what the current mindset or the current myths are, because I hear it all the time, it's a myth that parts and service are profitable enough to go ahead and cover your overhead. And I'm like, well, that's not true. The profitable dealerships are, but they don't necessarily talk about that. So the best strategy would be that parts and service are profitable enough to cover all of the overhead, and I say this intentionally, all of the overhead of the entire dealership. So layman's terms, parts and service should pay the bills. And then on top of that, when you get everything strategized right and playbooked right and just kind of clicked and really dialed in, not only is parts and service paying the bills for the whole dealership, but they are profitable in themselves.
Yeah.
So that any money you're making from sales, any money you're making from finance, that's just, I call it bonus money. Obviously it's not bonus money, but it's money that you can make big moves with. You can do infrastructure upgrades with, you can, change staffing, you can do more training. Like, you have a lot of options because you have half of the revenue stream that's coming in from the business that's not tied up just to pay the bills. Yeah. So a lot of that is busting that belief and that mindset. And sometimes it's a little scary because if you haven't been running your dealership that way and you've just seen those two departments as a write-off center or, you know, kind of profitable, like sometimes it's a little overwhelming. It doesn't have to be, you know, it didn't happen overnight, so it's not going to change overnight. But within 6 months to a year, you should be able to right the ship and have it so that that would be the intention, that those two departments are paying the bills for everything.
Yeah. So Maggie, I'm sure a lot of dealers are sitting here like light bulbs going off.
Yeah.
At least let's hope, right?
Yeah, let's hope.
But what are some of those initial things that a dealer needs to do to change that mentality and start to make the parts department and the service department a bigger profit center?
First thing I would recommend is start looking, step one, you got to change the mindset. And it's not just the mindset of the owner, but it's going to be the mindset of the GM, the accountant, and even your managers that are running your departments. So your sales manager, your service manager, and your parts manager, depending on how the dealership's broken up. So have a meeting with them and say, hey, we're going to evolve. You know, you never want to say change because change scares people because they don't know what to expect. So we're going to evolve. And parts and service are now going to become their own little profit centers, and so we're going to treat it as such. So that would mean the sales department, if they, and I'm picking on sales a little bit, but been there, done that. Right. Speaking from experience, when a sales deal needs to go through, the sales department can't bully the parts manager or bully the service manager into eating the loss. Okay, let's make it up. It's a side-by-side, and to roll that side-by-side, you need to sell a set of rims and tires to it. The sales department needs to eat the rims and tires, not parts, not service. So that would be a big mindset shift. It's not hard, but it's a line. You draw the line in the sand. Yeah. Once the line in the sand is drawn, then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to start to change the way you look and actually categorize the revenue. So parts will sell to parts, service will sell to service. If you need a write-off, again, we're all going to need to write something off. There's plenty of times where I had an upset customer and I needed to eat the battery. Sure. That's fine. So accounting needs to create those handful of accounts if they're not already created, and so that if I need to eat a battery as a parts manager or I need to give away a service as a service manager, again, these are facts. Like I don't, you know, this is what everyone does. Yep. Let's not sugarcoat it. Yeah. Then they have the appropriate account to write it off to. So those would be the two things I would start with. And then from there, it's going to take a couple months, but then you start to see what the baseline of each department is doing. Profit center department, I kind of use them interchangeably. But then you can start to see, okay, service is doing this. This is my benchmark. This is my baseline. Parts is doing this. Sales is doing this. Oh, we have some bad habits we need to take care of. Let's go ahead and start fixing these bad habits so that we can build, I love to use the word North Star. It gets everyone excited. Yeah. But you can start building that North Star to each department being its own profit center. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the big ones to start with.
Okay, excellent. And again, just to kind of recap maybe a key takeaway for dealers out of this episode and that change in mentality, you know, you talked a little bit about there being a strategy versus like just a hope. Yeah. Do you want to just elaborate on some of those takeaways that dealers should be strategizing?
So the biggest takeaway would be that I actually care about the dealership being profitable. I care about that dealership being around for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's not going to happen without profit. You're not going to be able to weather the storms, whether it's interest rates or units, doesn't matter. Yeah. Hurricanes, whatever. So I care about making it profitable. And the dealerships I talk to, they get a little embarrassed about the fact that their parts and service departments aren't profitable, or maybe they're inverted. And honestly, it's okay. It's the biggest thing is just, it's okay. It's fixable. I always tell everyone, it is fixable. It may take 6 months, it may take a year, but it is 100% fixable. And if we can fix it now, then from now until they're no longer with the dealership or they sell it, whatever the scenario is, you're now making profit in 4 different departments versus just 2. Right. And you can diversify your risk, and it's so much less stress. It sounds like it's a lot, it sounds overwhelming, but honestly, when I take people through these changes, the stress level comes down so much. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, wouldn't you like 2 more revenue streams coming into your household so you didn't have to worry about it?
100%.
Who says no to that? Yeah. So that's the big thing. Like, it's a little bit of a change, a little bit of a shift, but it's so worth it in the long run. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Well, hopefully we got the dealers out there thinking a little bit about that, because it's definitely important and definitely a big opportunity if they're not already doing it. So, guys, we appreciate you watching this episode of Beyond the Showroom. Make sure you guys are following along with what Maggie's got going on at Powersports Playbook. And as always, make sure you're checking out motorcycleandpowersportsnews.com. We appreciate you guys watching, but stay tuned for much more.